This review is on a crossover battle between the Incredible Hulk and Quasimodo. First impressions is that the Hulk should stomp easily. One hit from Hulk should kill Quasimodo, who doesn't necessarily have any powers, he's just a deformed human. But not every crossover is about who would win. It's also interesting seeing the two characters interact with each other, and if they do fight, what strategies they might employ against each other. Quasimodo was created by Victor Hugo in 1831. He's the protagonist of a novel named Notre Dame de Paris. It was later translated by Frederick Showbury in 1833, who changed the title to The Hunchback of Notre Dame, thinking it would sell better. Quasi is basically an abandoned, deformed gypsy who was found by the Archduke Claude Froyo on Quasimodo Sunday and taken to live in the Notre Dame Cathedral, where he rings bells and stuff like that. The next character should really need no introduction unless you were just born or possibly released from prison. He's the Incredible Hulk, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in 1962 for Marvel Comics. The scientist Bruce Banner is caught up in a gamma bomb test explosion when trying to save a youth from the test site, and the absorption of the gamma rays triggers a lot of bottled up inner hatred he has, to where whenever he's stressed out or his heart rate is elevated, he transforms into a giant, infinitely powerful beast, originally gray, later turned to green by Marvel. The Incredible Hulk vs. Quasimodo. This is a Marvel one-shot, which came out in March 1982. Written by Bill Mantlo with the artist Sal Buscema and Steve Mitchell. Let's look at the back. The story is set in Paris, France. Bruce is there to give a science lecture, and his love interest Betty Ross is also there to meet with France's Minister of Finance. They're sightseeing, looking at the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Betty thinks she sees someone up on the roof. Banner thinks she's hallucinating. Tells her she's been reading too much Victor Hugo. But the figure that Betty sees is actually Quasimodo, who's up at the top of the cathedral with a strange gargoyle-type bat creature named Salvatore. Looking down upon the two, Quasimodo notices Betty has a necklace with a key and recognizes the key to belong to France's Minister of Finance. He then devises a plan to kidnap Betty to use the key to steal France's wealth to make up for him being a lame, hunchback outcast, possibly virgin. We next see Bruce and Betty meeting with a Professor Jacques Royale. Royale gives Bruce a formula, which he says is the cure the two had apparently been working on. Quasimodo happens to hear this as he's lurking in the background through the sewers. Quasimodo then makes his move, springing from the sewers and kidnapping Betty. As he ducks back into the sewer, Dr. Banner chases after him. After a brief chase, they confront each other in Quasimodo's lair. Betty yells and passes out. Bruce gets caught up in the moment and hulks out. Here we go.
Hit him with the right. It's a fight, head bust him head.
Quasimodo starts the fight off by lunging at the Hulk. The two scuffle briefly, and Hulk catches him with a big left hook. Bow! Knocking him through a wall. Quasimodo realizes he's outmatched and can't trade blows with the Hulk. At this time, Betty wakes up and sees the two monsters distracted and escapes. Quasimodo takes off running. Hulk chases after him. Quasimodo then drops a big chandelier on Hulk, who easily brushes it off and gets back on the pursuit. Hulk finally catches up with Quasimodo atop the cathedral. They're fighting amongst the bells, and after a brief scuffle, Hulk lands yet another tremendous left hook. Boom! Sending Quasimodo flying out of a window. The Hunchback is plummeting to his death when he's suddenly saved by his weird, creepy bat creature friend, Salvatore. Salvatore flies off with Quasimodo, and the Hulk jumps after him, but falls short. We next see Hulk plummeting into the river below. The River Seine, I believe is what it's called. Hulk swims to shore and then converts back into Bruce Banner. Meanwhile, Salvatore, who had seen Betty escape and trailed behind her, fills Quasimodo in, letting him know that she had escaped and where she went. We next see Betty meeting with France's Minister of Finance, who reveals that the key opens up the floor panel on a subway car which is being used to transport France's gold. There's two keys. One of the keys was trusted to the American Thunderbolt Ross, who's Betty's father. Apparently Thunderbolt Ross sent Betty with the key. Not knowing Betty had escaped, Bruce Banner goes back to Quasimodo's lair. Now, of course, he doesn't see Betty, but he finds the formula which had fallen out of his pocket during the initial scuffle. He then runs into Quasimodo, who convinces him to give him the cure, stating that if he was a normal human again, he would leave Betty alone. Quasimodo drinks the formula, and nothing happens, so he becomes enraged and storms off to go after Betty, leaving Salvatore, the creepo bat, to take care of Dr. Banner. Banner, of course, transforms back into the Hulk and knocks Salvatore out. Hulk then storms off to chase after Quasimodo, who has now hijacked the subway car containing France's wealth. Hulk bursts through the side wall and tackles Quasimodo outside of the cart, leaving it driverless. The two then square up to fight again, but their formula takes effect and Quasimodo converts back into a normal human. Hulk then runs off to stop the runaway subway car, which contains Betty and the Minister of Finance and all that, and then runs off. Hulk then converts back into Bruce Banner. It's then Quasimodo reappears and thanks Bruce Banner for the cure. The two chat a bit and then walk off, apparently best friends or something like that, and that's the end of it. Now, before we finish up, a note worth mentioning is that this Quasimodo is not actually the original Quasimodo, but a great descendant, and that cheapens it a little bit. Now, this story was adapted into an animated version on the Incredible Hulk series. It's episode 4, When Monsters Meet, which came out in October of the same year, 1982. It basically follows the same story, just slight differences, especially in the artwork. It's kind of hard to bring these two characters into a story that would make sense, but I feel this does it, so I'll give it a point for story. The artwork's good for the time. I like Sal's Hulk. The fight, it wasn't much of a fight, but they do actually fight. Not every crossover does, so I'll give it just 0.5 out of 2. As far as being a clear winner, there was no clear winner depicted, but we all know Hulk would rip Quasimodo to shreds, so no points for clear winner. 2.5 out of 5 total. It's not needed, but it is cool to see two iconic characters like this rumble a little bit. Similar to a Marvel after credit scene, I'd like to add one thing that I idiotically edited out. It was crucial to the battle that during the fight, Quasimodo's game plan after eating the big left hook was to use the environment to his advantage. He knows the area as well as the city of Paris better than the Hulk, and wanted to lead him into traps. That's when he drops the big chandelier on him, and then from there he purposely leads Hulk to the bells, hoping that the loud sound would deafen him, as he himself was used to it. But he was sadly mistaken as he got to taste some Hulk smash.